Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this first change episode of It's a Dog's Life. I have Chris with me because we are going to deal with his character today, Barry Greenwood.
Indeed.
Barry is a resident Yorkshireman, so we're probably going to hear, or we are going to hear some good accent work from Chris today, as always, because that is, as we know, that is one of his particular strengths.
Yes, we say good accent work. I hope to do so. If anyone listening in is from Yorkshire and would care to point out any ways, to claim otherwise, that's fine. I'm open to constructive criticism.
Yes, but please do keep it constructive.
Mm-hmm.
That said, we are dealing with Barry at the tender age of 14. So it has been a couple of years since this happened. The game itself, when we started for real, the game proper is a present day campaign. So we are talking about 14, 15 years ago, basically, that this would take place.
Yes. So mid-2000s.
Mid-2000s, thereabouts. And we do start out with Barry where exactly? Where do you believe that he is today?
I believe that he is... I believe that he is still... he might be a recent, or recent-ish, homeless person overall.
Yes, so he has at this very young age, he has already lost his home.
Yes, or he's escaped it.
Yes,
for lack of a better term.
He is in fact without a roof over his head, but he's also, because he is as young as he is, he is obviously also on the radar of child, protective services, basically, in that situation.
Indeed, yes.
And they are, quite frankly, they're a bit of a nuisance.
I mean, of course,
at this point, because every time you've met with them, it's been one of two things happening. Either they've promised you that they would do something which they then haven't followed through on in some way or other. They haven't been able to live up to their promises.
Mm-hmm.
And then they have bad excuses afterwards. Or at least, in Barry's world, it would feel like bad excuses.
Mm-hmm.
Or they are almost threatening him. Like, you must do exactly what we say or else. And Barry at that point would have reached the conclusion that, or else what? I'm already homeless.
Mm-hmm.
But the other people off the street, the other people who live rough, do treat him nicely. You've been very, very lucky in that the crowd that you've fallen in with amongst the homeless are decent folk, who aren't looking to exploit the fact that there's a child that is vulnerable and so on, and that does help quite a bit. But it does also mean that in the relatively short period of time since you got in this situation or not, the homeless people are the ones that are coming off as being, forthright and honest and decent, and like they actually keep their promises when they make them. And the system doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense.
It does. It's a sentiment that I can, to a point, understand, not from personal experience of being, having experienced homelessness, but because by this point in my life, I've actually worked for a little bit in terms of child services in England as a in an administrative capacity. So I'm aware of the kind of stories you can come across and how civil service, children's services can come across as quite inept, although obviously.
And they can come across as if they don't actually listen to the client.
Of course, yes.
That's one of the worst things that I think that can happen is that that the person who needs help feels that they're not getting heard or taken seriously.
Yeah, and obviously in real life and in position and with the service I work with, we obviously try not to let that become the case. We do our best.
Of course.
But yeah, this is the world of darkness. So
exactly, I was just about to say that this is the world of darkness where everything. The shito meter is always turned up an extra notch on the dial.
Mm-hmm.
It just happens.
Yep.
And it may not even be that the people in Child Protective Services in this in this situation in the game probably mean well, but either because of professional ineptitude or because of red tape or legislation or lack of funds or whatever. They have, in fact, failed Barry.
Yes. So there's a lot of resentment on his part for the system and a lot of trust on his part for his homeless peers.
Yeah. And you are, at this time, we find you down by the York Dungeon, which is located down here on the on the map. And that means you're quite close to the River Ouse, and it is mid-evening by now, and you're sitting there under an overpass with three other men.
Mm-hmm.
You know all of them. It's Chuck, who is Scottish and mad as a box of frogs. It is William, who is actually a man of education and learning, who lost his family in a particularly ugly divorce, and his life fell apart. And he's been living in the streets for the last 15 years.
Yeah.
He particularly, William is the one who has been, more than any other, who has been, making sure that you are being taken care of. He's because he's smart and he knows, he is quite an intelligent man. Also in terms of book learning, so he's there isn't an actual leader of the homeless in New York, but he's sort of an unofficial go-to sort of guy that the others listen to, right?
Okay.
And you are and he has made sure that nobody takes advantage of you. And the last one there is Ian. And Ian is a local fellow who is also he's not that much older than you. He's like 17 or 18. He's not quite sure himself. But he's not quite sure if he's one or the other because as he put it, birthdays weren't something that was celebrated in his home. They were more a something he wanted out of the way, because every year on his birthday his father would beat him up particularly savagely for having had the freaking audacity to come into this world and make his dad's life more complicated. Mm-hmm. Basically, as he put it, his father resents him for taking away for turning beer money into diaper money.
Mm-hmm. I think that's something that Barry can relate to as well, because similar.
So you probably bonded a bit with with him over that exact thing. That you have a similar sort of background there.
Yeah.
And you're sitting there, and it's a wintry evening, and it's in Yorkshire, which means it is cold. There's a small. They've managed to build a small fire. Basically, Chuck has a Bunsen burner that he uses it very judiciously, because fuel isn't free.
Obviously not.
But he takes care of they build a little fire, and then he uses the Bunsen burner to get it going, and then he turns that off, so he saves as much fuel as possible. So you're sitting there around a small fire and trying to stay warm, huddled up, of course, with as many blankets and rags around you as you've been able to gather up, because this is problematic, obviously. That it looks like it's going to be a pretty cold winter. Probably quite a bit of snow.
Mm-hmm.
And while the homeless shelter, St. Benedict's, is open, they have to do things on a first come, first served basis, because there simply aren't enough beds.
Mm-hmm.
And so they have people who very nearly camp their entire day outside St. Benedict's, just to be first in line. But occasionally people have to leave the line because they have to take a dump, or they have to scrounge up something to eat, or there could be any number of reasons. And so somebody else will take your spot in the line, and it can get a little bit vicious when the cold is coming like this. But you're sitting there, and what are you talking about, do you think?
Probably discussing the sort of what I might have been able to scrounge for the day in terms of
absolutely
fuel to keep the fire that Chuck started going.
What food you might have managed to get together, and so on.
Yeah, that sort of thing.
Yep. And there's one thing that you're waiting for at this point, because you've had pretty good luck with the fuel. The fire is going to last you through the night. You're certain of that, but you haven't had much luck with food today. For some reason, there's some food there, but well, if you're going to split what you have there 4 ways, you're all going to go to bed hungry.
Mm-hmm.
And now, going to bed hungry is par for the course when you're homeless, but there is one more chance for some food. Because there's a kiosk nearby, like a place where, a corner store where they sell, amongst other things, they sell sandwiches and stuff like that. And,
right, okay.
And they throw away the stuff that goes past, Best Buy date. They throw that out every night, and that is going to happen pretty soon. It's not every night that they have anything. Some nights they throw away like one sandwich or something. But, right now, with as little food as you have, one sandwich would be a good addition.
Yes.
So, at some point, Ian looks at you and goes, we should go and have a look. We should go and we should go and check. If you know it basically, he says this right after you hear the bells of the minster chime. So you can you hear the it's closing hours basically for these guys. So he looks at you and says we should go over and check if they've thrown anything away today.
Alright, let's get a wiggle on.
And he gets up and shrugs. He's got like an old army coat sort of thing that he's not old enough to have been in the army and been released from it yet, but he's got an army long coat that he shrugs into place and gets ready to go and brings you along.
Okay.
And you get around the corner, and it's not far. It's maybe like 150 meters or something from where you're sitting. So it's really right nearby. And you get there, and you're in luck. They've actually thrown away no less than 5 sandwiches, and they all look just fine. You know how it is with Best Buy dates. For the most part, the food is absolutely fine if it's been refrigerated, which it has. So there are no less than 5 perfectly adequate sandwiches right there that you can pick up.
Yep. People just don't pay attention to the difference between best before and used by. So
exactly. So Ian claps his hands together and is like, "Yes, this is grand."
Champion.
Fantastic. This is good. We're actually gonna go to bed and not be hungry tonight. That is so good. Come on, and he hands he hands a couple of them to you and starts picking the others up. And then you basically you head back towards the others.
Mm-hmm.
And when you get there, something is wrong. As you get around the corner, you realize that the fire has gone out.
Hey up.
There's no answer.
Ian?
Yeah?
Might have some trouble here.
Oh, shite. He comes around the corner as well and takes a look. He's like, oh, fucking hell. What? Guys? What? William? You there?
Alright, you stay. You stay here. I'm gonna get close. Have a look.
Sure. Be careful. And so you move closer.
I do, yeah.
Yeah. And as you get there, you see the most dreadful thing.
Mm-hmm.
For one thing, Chuck is lying there face down in the beginning snow, and he's bleeding quite badly. But more than that, you see a creature. It's not even... You can't even tell if it's a man or a woman because you've never seen anything that utterly hideous in your entire life. It's unspeakable. It is inhuman. It's dreadful. It's an Nosferatu. Bent over William with what looks like a set of fangs buried in his throat. And he's limp.
Yeah. And okay, he's pauses. He freezes for a moment, and then keeping his eyes on this horrible thing, he just he takes a deep breath and just yells out, "Ian, fucking run!"
And of course, that makes the creature aware that you're there. And they snap upright, which in turn has the terrible effect that they almost rip William's throat out.
Ooh, I think.
Yeah. Go on.
Obviously, there's fear and disgust, but I mean, William's been so good to Barry. I actually think he probably feels a bit angry.
You do. It's you feel fear, obviously, yes, because what the hell is it you're looking at?
Mm-hmm.
But secondly, yes, there is definitely anger there. And then there's just darkness. You have this boiling sensation of rage inside you, unlike anything you've ever felt before. It feels like there is something that is trying to almost tear itself loose from you.
Yes. Like, where's that screaming from?
Exactly.
Oh wait. That's me.
Yeah. The next thing that happens that you realize is that you come to your senses and you recognize the place that you're sitting as the War Memorial Gardens, which is over here.
Well, that's quite a journey to make when you're unconscious.
And what is more is, from where you're sitting, you can see a clock. Across the River Ouse, you can see a clock over by the city cruises. Almost 3 hours have gone by. You have no memory at all of what has happened. None.
What the fuck?
Yeah, and that's the moment when you realize that you're stark raving naked.
Oh.
It's cold.
Fucking hell. Got fucking doped and clothes taken. Fuck!
And yeah. You're
yeah, so
oh, sorry, please go on, please.
No, he's basically obviously arms around himself. He's desperately looking around for, I don't know, anything to cover himself up with.
Yeah, before he freezes to death.
Yeah.
But there is, when you turn around, you realize that there's a good deal more snow now than when you lost, connection to reality. And there's a lot of blood in the snow behind you. And what is really weird is that you can see your own tracks in the snow, and only the last couple of tracks look even remotely human.
Mm-hmm. What fucking horror film madness is this?
Yeah, that's a very good question. And you can, as you look at your hands and your arms and down yourself for that matter, it's clear that not all of this blood can be yours, because then you wouldn't be you wouldn't be standing, you wouldn't be moving around. You look terrible, quite frankly. But what do you do? Where do you go? Again, you're stalkers in the War Memorial Gardens in the middle of the night.
Is there a building nearby?
Yes, there is. There is that little one here called the Ghost Bus Tours, which is it's just they just have a shed basically where you can, but it's at least something with a roof over it.
Well, best to go and see if I can actually get under some shelter. I mean, if it's a publicly used like bus stop building, it's gonna either be open or it's gonna be have doors locked.
It's not a publicly used bus stop as part of the
Right.
the ghost bus tours are like a tourist attraction.
Okay.
Where you go around. They have them in Dublin as well, for that matter. It's basically you go around on a bus with a couple of people in costume who then tell you all the ghost stories of the city that you're driving around, and every time you pass a place which has a specific ghost story attached to it, then you get told, and there are a couple of stops along the way where you get off and see things and so on. But because this is obviously a tourist attraction that only takes place at night when it's dark, because otherwise, what the fuck is the point of a ghost story, right?
Yeah.
There are actually people there now.
Yeah, that's good. Fuck. Okay. Is there a part of the building that doesn't look like there's many people around?
Yes, you can. They have a toilet at the end of the building where it's a public bog, so you can use that.
Guess I'd better head in there then.
Yes.
And
yeah.
If there's a disabled toilet, like a private toilet and sink.
Yes.
He'll head in there and try and use the privacy to try and wash as much of the blood off himself as he can.
Yeah, and you get started on that, and it's actually it's warm in there for one thing, so you do get to warm up a little bit, but you're still in an awful situation, obviously.
Yes. Dark as fucking nithered.
Mm-hmm.
Can this not get any worse?
And you hear a man's voice behind you saying, "Yeah, I think it can."
Get this fucking hell! He spins around.
You spin around, and you look at. Well, the best way to describe this is that either they have the best special effects ever at this Ghost Bus tours, or you're looking at one of the attractions. There is a fellow in late 17th, early 18th century garb standing there.
Mm-hmm.
With his head under his arm.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
And that's the last thing you say, because everything goes dark again, and it's like, what? Ah!
Here we go again.
And there you go again.
Mm-hmm. All right.
The next time you come to your senses, you're actually not quite back by the dungeon. Mm-hmm. But you are by the Ooze Bridge, which is here.
Yes.
And it's coming up on morning, and this time there's no blood. But when you do come around, you're completely alone. There's nobody out. By now the weather is a whiteout.
Mm-hmm.
And for that reason you've been lucky. You haven't bumped into anyone in this situation, or apparently you haven't. You're looking at the world from a very odd position and angle, and you realize that you're up much higher than normal. And oh, by the way, why am I not cold? And what is that snout doing in front of my face?
Mm-hmm. Can I look? You said I think everything's much higher up.
Yes.
I'm gonna look down at my hands if I can.
Yeah, you can. You are basically standing there in the middle of a whiteout in York, in Krenos. Meaning you have claws for hands, and you are in a shitty situation if somebody sees you. But of course, you don't quite know that.
Mm-hmm. Well,
but this is definitely, to use your own expression from before, this is some horror movie shit.
yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, sort of no. with a groan that comes out more like a dog whine and sort of holding his head for a moment, he darts. He looks around and basically tries to find. Well, you said I'm on the gate near where I was originally, so
Yes.
I can try and make my way back towards where I first blacked out, see if what that looks like.
Yes.
And it's out of the way.
Yeah, it is. And you do get back there, and the place is scoured. There's no sign that anything happened there. There's no blood on the ground or in the snow where Chuck was before. There are no bodies, nothing of the sort. It's like nothing happened there. But you know what you saw earlier, obviously.
Do I, with my heightened Krenos senses, smell anything amiss?
Yes, you do. You can smell something quite foul. And as you turn your head to see where it's coming from, because it's peculiar enough. You don't get any bonuses to your senses in Krenos. That's in Lucas, but you do still rely more on smell typically in Krenos, because it's you do have at least partially you complement your senses with what you have, right?
Yeah.
And you see the creature from before, the Nosferatu, except it's not alone. There's another one like it with it. And they're equally as hideous. And the one that you saw earlier in the evening was like, I can't believe he's dumb enough to come back here. And then basically the other one looks very uncertain, and it's like, no, but he's pretty big. I don't want to be here. And the first one goes, oh, shut up. He clearly doesn't know what the hell is going on. We can finish him off. Come on. No witnesses.
Mm-hmm.
And the second one just shakes his head and dives behind some what are they called? Large trash cans, and it's like, nope, I'm not taking part in this. But the first one gets at you, and I'm not going to ask, this is a first change video, I'm not going to ask for any dice rolling or anything like that. So I'm just going to narrate what happens.
Sure.
You've been in fights before in your relatively young life.
Yeah, we had to get in a few scraps.
Scraps, yeah. Just, maybe nothing extreme or anything of the sort, but there's been some scraps, and you've had your problems with your dad and so on, as you mentioned, right?
Yeah.
So you know what it feels like to get punched.
I do.
Getting punched by this creature feels like somebody is taking a jackhammer to you. It is horrible.
Mm-hmm.
And they are a pretty experienced fighter. So you are pretty quickly driven onto the defensive. But what you find out, and what this other creature finds out, is also that while it hurts, you're really durable.
Mm-hmm.
And
It's like...
and you see, at least once they jump up on a bench basically and do like a jumping Superman punch sort of thing.
Yeah.
That connects with your jaw, and you see blood flying. Your head snaps around and you see blood flying, and only a couple of moments later, you can feel you can actually feel the wound healing. You can feel it close up.
Mm-hmm.
Which is obviously a really strange sensation.
Mm-hmm.
But at some point, you come to the realization that, wait a second, they can punch me, but they can't finish me off. And that gives you enough courage to kind of start, maybe not so much fighting as flailing back.
Yes, just basically... imagine after that particular cinematic moment, after that particular Superman punch, and it knocks him down and onto a knee.
Yeah.
And then he sort of looks up at this creature, spits blood out of his mouth, and then, as much as his face allows it to, just gives a savage grin, and then just, as you say, just starts wailing back at this thing with his claws, and just, And I'm a big furry werewolf. I'm a monster too. I can fight back.
Exactly, you can, and that's the thing. Even though it's a lot less trained and coordinated, and even though it is flailing, you are flailing with claws. And clearly the vampire doesn't like this. It really doesn't. Obviously, you don't necessarily know that it's a vampire, but you can also kind of put two and two together, I guess. And it doesn't like getting hit by your claws. It takes lumps out of it. Mm-hmm. And finally, you pick up this vampire, which by this point is more dead than undead, and just yeet it across the opening where, under the overhang where you were sitting before. You just throw this thing maybe 7 or 8 meters through the air, and then you get and then it impacts with the wall, and just there's a very nasty crunch, and it sinks down to the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And then you hear probably the last thing you expected. You hear Ian's voice. I'm like, fucking hell. You're one too?
I obviously turn around to face Ian.
He's standing behind you in Homid. He's not, he's...
Yeah. And he basically, his eyes widen, he sort of hunkers down, panicking a bit and sort of looking about himself as if about to either flee or otherwise, I don't know. And he'll try to speak. I don't know, because you need to practice speaking in a creature.
Exactly. So he can't avoid a little bit of a smile, because it does sound a little pathetic, and he basically he pats you on the shoulder and it's like, don't worry, I'll help you. But fucking hell, I thought I was the only one on, Yeah, I'm like you. Don't worry. Well, here, he takes off his coat and says, first and foremost, close your eyes.
What?
And just focus really, really hard on being yourself, on being, on being Barry.
Mm-hmm. just tries to remember his shape, tries to remember when everything was a little bit closer to the ground. You know, when he felt the cold more keenly because he didn't have fur everywhere.
Yeah. And you manage. It takes a little while. It's not easy, and it's untrained, and it's unpleasant, and it hurts like hell when you change, because it does. But you get back to Homid, and now you have a coat that you can put over you at least, and clothes.
Okay, that's good. Nice. So yes, when he's back to Homid. Oh.
Yeah.
Fucking werewolves.
Well, at least you guessed it. I was a little less fortunate. Nobody found me for 3 days. You see, that's the real reason why I'm living in the streets. Nobody found me for 3 days, but they did find my dad. What was left of him, anyway.
Oh.
Yeah.
I suppose it's champion that the abusive cunt got what was coming to him.
Yeah, but still, that was my first time, was killing my dad. But
well,
it sucks.
It's a bit of jammy luck, man. Mate.
It is.
But okay, so what now? Every time the moon goes a certain thing, or whenever I see something really horrible, I'm going to turn into a big fucking man wolf.
Well, let's try and what we're going to do first and foremost is we're going to go somewhere where we can get you some more clothes, and then we're going to go and find some others who can help you, because you can learn how to control the whole changing thing. That's kind of that's the big thing, is we'll help you learn.
I thought you said we were the only ones.
No. I thought I was. You're a Bonegnawer, mate. That takes a while to explain, but there are different kinds of wolves.
Right.
And the kind that you and I are, we're called Boneknawers.
Oh, charming.
Well, we actually have it better than you might think. Just you wait and see. When you see the uppity pricks that actually run this place in terms of werewolf life, you'll see we actually got we got the better deal.
Well, all right. As long as I can avoid waking up starkers in Memorial Park, I'll be happy.
Oh no. We'll make sure that we'll fix this.
All right.
Just come with me.
Yeah,
come with
sure,
me.
Sure.
And he does. Yeah, sure. Go on.
Ian.
Yeah.
Cheers, mate.
Aye, you're welcome. Shite, I'm just sorry about the other two.
Didn't deserve what happened to him, but at least the fucker did it. Well, what's left of him is over there.
Definitely. Speaking of that, he says, and starts explaining a bit about vampires as he walks you away from where you are and off into the early morning light of a cold morning in York, as he gets you some clothes and such like. And nice. We are going to actually call it there. And your deed name, because you were all going to get deed names based on your first change stories, because it's actually not unusual for Boneknawers to not keep their they don't keep their cup names.
All right.
But it's not they don't do that any more than any others, but nobody is interested in the Boneknawers except the Boneknawers. So, so quite often when you get your deed name, it'll just be based on what they know about your first change. So you become known as Yeats Vampire.
Yeats Vampire. Yep, it's contemporary and irreverent, just as the Bonegnawer should be.
Yes.
Okay, I have noted that down in on my character sheet title. So
yes.
Yeats Vampire.
Because Yeats is a more... it is a much newer word. It's been used for the last couple of years. I think initially you're probably known as Hurl's Vampire, but then over the last few years it will have changed to Yeats Vampire because, quite frankly, what you did was yeeting.
Also, it's Yorkshire, it'd be Chuck's Vampires.
Yeah, true.
Plus, it's a nice. It's a tip of the hat to the Scottish geezer who lost.
Yeah, but it's probably also a bit of a painful reminder. So eventually it becomes Yeats Vampire.
Yes, so yeah, Yeats Vampire I think works nice.
And that is it. You have undergone your first change.
Excellent. I am all prepared for the for this angry, confused young man to grow up into a
angry, confused werewolf. Maybe not so confused, but at least an angry werewolf.
Confused, slightly older werewolf with a beard and a propensity for angry werewolf, and it was all about the spirit shit. So.
Yes, all about the spirit shit, and we will get to that in short order. But thank you for this, and ladies and gentlemen of the viewing audience, that was Barry's first change. Please do check out the others as well.
Yep.
And we will see you around. Bye for now.
Bye.